Here's the recap of the first season of Berlin. The action unfolds a few years before the events of the series Money Heist. A man nicknamed Berlin decides to pull off a daring robbery, which he has been planning for a long time. To do this, he gathers a group of criminals. Bruce is a jack of all trades and something of a muscle of the group. Damien is the brains of the operation, Roy capable of picking any lock. Keela is the local hacker. They're also soon joined by Cameron, an adrenaline-crazed girl. Together, they want to rob the largest auction house in Paris and take out from there jewelry for $48 million. However, there's a small problem. The main characters do not know when exactly in the vault will be all the jewelry, as they will be brought at different times. That is why the protagonists have to follow the director of the auction house, and for this purpose they settle in a hotel right in front of his apartment. The next important stage of the robbery is to get to the vault, where the jewelry will be. To do this, the protagonists come up with a clever plan. The first thing they steal from some dishonest oligarch, an ancient cup worth $40,000. After that, they go to the church, which is located right next to the auction house. It turns out that under the church building, there are ancient tunnels, and one of them leads directly to the wall of the vault. But there's a problem. The head of the church won't allow any work to be done in the tunnels. So the protagonists fake identities and present themselves as archaeologists. They inform the priest that they have learned from old manuscripts that one of the first churches in Europe is probably located under this building. And this is the biggest find for the Catholic Church. Berlin and his friends skillfully manipulate the priest into allowing them to begin a small excavation. Soon in his presence, they dig up the cup, and the delighted old man gives permission for a full-fledged excavation. After that, the protagonists bring all the necessary equipment to the cellars and start digging a tunnel. Meanwhile, the team needs to get into the apartment of an auction house director named Francois. Roy picks the lock and Keela breaks the alarm system. They install hidden video cameras all over the house and leave without leaving a single trace. Berlin notices that Roy is looking at Cameron and tells his protege to think about work first, not feelings. At night, Berlin watches Francois' apartment and notices his wife Camila going somewhere. Although the protagonist has been watching her for only a few days, he instantly falls in love with the girl. The man informs Roy about it and then persuades him to help him get Camila. At first, everything goes well, but the girl does not reciprocate. Then Berlin makes another attempt to talk to her, and having overheard that she is going to the opera, dresses accordingly. Opera turns out to be the name of a nightclub. Berlin easily joins the collective for the sake of his beloved, then deserves the respect of Camila. In the morning, the girl knocks on the room to Berlin, but he cannot let her in, as the room is full of surveillance equipment. He comes out to her and Camila confesses to him that she is married but still ready to meet him. First, the man didn't like it, as he hoped she would leave her husband, with whom she lived for 8 years. But then all the same agrees to be her lover, so has already come up with a plan how to break up a married couple. While Berlin is hanging out with Camila, the rest of the main characters run into a problem. The father wants to go together with the cup to the university, in which they work according to the legend. Of course, the team cannot allow this and tries to dissuade the old man, referring to safety, but he does not agree. Moreover, the priest is protected by 2 former criminals who work for him. Berlin orders Roy to get the cup by all means, and the guy does not think of anything smarter than to simply steal it. Together with Cameron, they get on Bruce's bike and try to snatch the bag with a relic, but they are stopped by criminals. A short chase ensues, and eventually the couple has to escape, leaving the bike and the artifact behind. Roy and Camila think that everything is over, but it turns out that the priest was so scared that he decided not to go anywhere, because he believed Damien's words that it is not safe to transport the goblet until the excavation is completed. Meanwhile, the main characters are getting closer and closer to the auction house's vault wall. Keela starts to fall in love with Bruce, even though she thought he was a rude jerk before. She shares this information with Cameron, and she and the guys throw a party in her hotel room. The next day, the team finally reaches the old brickwork and breaks through it to find the first reinforced concrete wall leading into the vault. The problem is that passing through it, they will find themselves in a kind of timbre, and there will be a vault with steel walls. The main characters, with the help of special equipment, cut a square block right on the joint line and pull out the plate with a robot. After that, they need to sneak in there, quickly connect to the video surveillance system, and loop the picture. But first they need to distract the two guards who are watching the cameras. Bruce disguises himself as a courier and delivers their pizza, but he starts boring the guards, and they get distracted from their work. During this time, Keela hacks into the auction house's system. The next step is to carefully cut off the back wall of the vault itself. Then they use a special crane to lift it up, and the robbers get in without any problems. The preparatory part of the operation is over. Now it remains to find out when exactly in the vault will bring all the jewelry. Soon the director of the auction house finds out that his wife is cheating on him. Berlin is delighted with the news, but it turns out that Francois has forgiven Camila, and the girl wants to break up with the protagonist. Just at this time, the rest of the team learns that the jewelry will be brought to the vault today, and they inform Berlin about it. The team dresses in special costumes so as not to leave any traces, after which they successfully take all the jewelry. Berlin then sneaks into Francois's apartment and discreetly drugs him with chloroform. He puts on his clothes, takes his phone, and goes to the country house of the director of the auction house in his car. There Berlin leaves a lot of evidence, indicating that it was Francois who stole the jewelry. After that, he returns back and together with Roy gets rid of all video cameras in the house. Meanwhile, the rest of the team welds up the steel wall of the vault and applies a new coat of paint to mask the seams. To cover up the hacking of the system, they create a massive power surge, which disables all of the auction house's electronics, including the vault's locks. In the meantime, they close the vestibule's reinforced concrete block and caulk the gaps. Then they leave all the equipment in the tunnel and masterfully disguise the tunnel itself. Now all that remains is to pack up the stolen jewelry, clean up all traces in the hotel rooms, and leave France. However, Bruce learns that Roy and Cameron have lost his bike, and the company where he rented it is going to call the police. Even though he showed fake ID there, the photo was his, so something has to be done about it. Bruce asks Keela to help him. They sneak into the car rental office together, and though they are caught by security, the protagonists manage to erase the passport information from the computer. Meanwhile, Roy and Cameron decide to tickle their nerves for the last time. The girl takes one stolen necklace and they escape from the hotel. The couple steals an expensive car and participate in some strange races, putting their car on the line. However, they lose and give the racers the vehicle for getting the necklace there. Cameron tells Roy about his past. It turns out that a few years ago she fell in love with a guy and was so crazy about him that she started going insane. Cameron ended up in a mental institution, and then Berlin found her. The next day, experts finally open the jammed vault door and discover the jewelry missing. The police immediately find the evidence that Berlin planted, and they arrest the confused director of the auction house. Now the protagonists must quietly leave France. While Berlin destroys the remaining equipment, Bruce and Keela disguise themselves as travelers and get on a bus. Damien as a father rides in a trailer with Roy and Cameron, who pretend to be his children. Meanwhile, the police catch the very same riders and find the necklace in the back seat. From them, the officers learn that they got the car from two Spaniards and make a sketch of Roy and Cameron. After that, they contact Interpol and Sierra arrives in France, as well as Riquet, whom we know from the series Money Heist. Trailer Damien is stopped by the police, as the authorities have decided to block all the exits from Paris to prevent the export of jewelry. However, the protagonists skillfully play out their elaborate roles and they are released. Stopping at a trailer park, Damien discovers that Berlin has not left Paris and goes back to get him, leaving Roy and Cameron alone. Soon Sierra tracks down their trailer as the police officers have identified the couple. However, the protagonists were prepared and escape through the sewers. They climb onto the truck. After that, having created a great disguise for themselves, they get to Spain and finally kiss. Meanwhile, Bruce and Keela find out that the roads are blocked. They rush off and walk through the woods. At night, the girl is bitten by a poisonous snake, and the guy carries her in his arms to the nearest hospital where she is treated. There, they are recognized by the police, but Bruce manages to take them hostage. After that, they put the officers to sleep, and themselves on a stolen yacht leave France. They also confess their love to each other. Camila learns of her husband's arrest and at first thinks he is a criminal, but soon comes to her senses and decides to leave Berlin. Next, the hell happens, where the girl returns and leaves the protagonist. But eventually she learns that it was Berlin who stole the jewelry from her husband's auction house, but does not report to the police. She also learns that Francois has been cheating on her and decides to leave him. Together with her friend, she devises a plan to get the money from Berlin. At that moment, Raquel finds traces of hidden video cameras in the apartment of the director of the auction house and realizes that the center of surveillance was in the hotel across the street. Just then, Damien and Berlin destroy the last evidence in the room and manage to leave the building a few seconds before the SWAT team rushes in. The main characters get on their bikes and cross the French border over a mountain range. Sierra and Raquel make sketches of all 6 robbers, but they do not find any more clues, so they hope that soon the criminals will commit another robbery. After a while, Camila tracks down Berlin as she remembers a favorite restaurant that the protagonist told her about. She, along with her friend, visits him and demands money. Otherwise, she will tell everything to the police. Berlin foresaw this and destroyed in advance all the evidence that Camila had recorded. However, he still gives her the money, as he loves her madly. Soon Berlin meets Damien and proposes to commit another robbery. This is the end of the first season. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and click the like button. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.